Good day, everyone. My name is Aidan, and I am one of your moderators for today. Welcome to our panel discussion. Today, we look at the realities of the natural disasters in the Philippines, how climate change, corruption, and government incompetence and disorganization continue to shape the way we respond. These issues affect every Filipino, sometimes equally, sometimes uniquely, and they deserve honest discussion. So, before anything else, I hand this over to Zariel, who will help lead today's discussion.
Thank you, Aidan. Good morning, everyone. I'm Zaire Licolpaking, your moderator. Today, we'll hear different perspectives from government, responders, scientists, media, community leaders, and survivors. Each perspective contributes something equally important. Our goal is to understand what's happening, why it matters, and what we can actually do. So let's begin with topic 1. To start things off, I'd like to ask our scientists, with the weather becoming more unpredictable every year, sometimes sunny, then suddenly flooding, what do you think are the long-term social impacts of climate change?
Well, first of all, thank you for that question. One of the biggest impact is displacement. A lot of families are forced to move repeatedly because their areas are no longer safe. And aside from losing homes and community spaces, this uncertainty take a toll on people's mental health, especially children. They lost routine, stability, and sometimes even access to basic needs.
Thank you. Now, from the social side to the economic side, how do recurring disasters slow down long-term development?
Honestly, it is like trying to save money, but also needing to pay for repairs. Progress doesn't really happen because resources keep getting redirected towards rebuilding. Businesses also struggle to reopen, and some never recover at all. So the community doesn't just lose income, it loses opportunity. From my standpoint, recurring disasters trap societies in cycles of recovery rather than progress. They erode economic gains, weaken institutions, and perpetuate vulnerabilities, making sustainable development harder to achieve.
That makes sense. Lastly, for this topic, how does climate change affect education in disaster prone communities?
In 2024 alone, at least 242 million students in 85 countries had their schooling disrupted by extreme climate events such as heat waves, droughts, and floods. Schools get damaged, classes get suspended, and teachers lose teaching materials. But beyond that, there is the emotional effects on students. When a child loses a home or gets moved to a different place, learning becomes much harder. Education gets interrupted again and again. Now let's shift our topic to disaster preparedness, and this question suits our disaster response team. How would you describe the current effectiveness of our disaster preparedness systems?
Our preparedness has improved because many communities now have better warning systems and clearer evacuation plans. However, some places still rely on outdated tools and lack proper training. In contrast, other barangays are more organized and proactive. Furthermore, we need stronger coordination so that preparedness becomes consistent everywhere.
Thank you so much for that response. And building on that, What do you think communities can do to strengthen local disaster risk reduction?
Communities can strengthen disaster readiness by joining trainings and participating in drills. Compared to relying only on our government responders, community-led efforts like volunteer groups and updated evacuation routes make disaster response much faster. Moreover, working closely with LGUs builds stronger and more resilient systems. In addition, regularly reviewing risk helps communities adapt better.
And lastly, still on this topic, how can school and youth organization support disaster preparedness?
Schools and youth groups help by teaching hazard awareness and doing regular drills, while adults focus on organizing large-scale plans. The youth, on the other hand, contribute through first aid skills and preparedness clubs. Furthermore, schools can serve as evacuation centers, giving them a dual role in safety. Additionally, early education instills a preparedness mindset. Now, moving into a more sensitive topic, corruption. To our government, how does corruption affect disaster response?
Well, corruption slows everything down. Funds don't reach where they supposed to, or they arrive late. It also damages trust. When people don't trust the system, coordination becomes harder, especially during emergencies.
Thank you. And to follow that up, what reforms could help improve transparency and speed?
One useful reform is using digital platforms that let people track government spending. Another is simplifying the procurement process is resources and equipment can be released more quickly, while enforcing strict auditing and competitive bidding. This reduces delays and prevents inflated contracts and favoritism.
And lastly, still related to this topic, how can ordinary citizens help reduce corruption? Now, let's talk about supply chains. To our media professional, how do natural disasters affect the movement of goods?
The moment major roads get damaged, trucks can't pass, the deliveries get delayed or even stop. Communication problems make it even harder to coordinate, so delays pile up. It also affects when cost of goods are rising. Inflation hits its pressure, and we are starting to see the vulnerability of businesses, especially the small ones. It also has an impact globally, like ripple effects. It will affect international trades and manufacturing.
And what strategies can help lessen these disruptions?
One solution is storing goods in different locations so they stay accessible even if one area becomes unreachable. Also, LGUs and private companies should plan alternate routes and backup suppliers. Relying on multiple suppliers and transport routes reduces and the risk of complete shutdown when one area is hit by disasters. Using real-time tracking and predictive analytics help anticipate disruption and reroute shipments quickly. Media coverage often frames these technologies as game changers for transparency and speed.
Before we move on, how can technology improve supply chain resilience?
As mentioned before, technology like real-time tracking helps responders identify problems faster. Digital systems also help manage inventories, so shortages don't catch people off guard. You are an effective individual. During the disaster, how did price gouging affect your community?
During the disaster, price gouging really affected our community. For example, basic things like food and water became much more expensive, and many families couldn't afford them. As a result, some of us had to go without essentials, which made a difficult situation even harder. Overall, it showed how important fair prices and access to supplies are during emergencies. So now, how can government stop this from happening again?
Price freezing during calamities help keep costs stable, and beyond that, inspection and penalties discourage businesses from taking advantage of people. Partnership with retailers and suppliers also helps. Coordinating with businesses ensures stable supply chains and discourages profiteering. This also reduces panic buying and shortages.
And what can consumers do to help?
Report cases of price gouging timely. Reporting allows us officials to act quickly, buy responsibly, and avoid panic buying. When people hoard, it creates shortages for others. As we move to our final topic, I'd like to ask our community leader, what roles do local leaders play during disasters?
As a community leader, I coordinate relief, organize evacuations, and keep people updated. In contrast, to responders who focus on immediate rescue and medical needs, I handle communication and community-wide planning. Furthermore, I provide emotional support to families and ensure resources reach everyone. Moreover, I help maintain order during crises.
And to our disaster response team, what responsibilities do responders carry?
As a responder, I help evacuate people, give first aid, and work directly with authorities, while leaders guide the community responders. On the other hand, handle rapid and urgent actions on the ground. Additionally, we must stay calm so others feel safe. Furthermore, clear communication with leaders helps avoid confusion.
And finally, how can communities and responders work better together?
As a responder, I believe communities and our team can work better together by keeping communication open and supporting each other. First of all, I encourage people in the community to join drills, follow safety instructions, and share information about local risk. Next, I make sure to listen to their concerns and involve them in planning and preparedness activities. Also, I think it helps when both sides take part in joint training or awareness programs to build trust and teamwork. Overall, when we work closely with the community, emergencies are handled more smoothly and everyone stays safer.
Thank you so much to all of our panelists. This conversation shows that disaster resilience is not just a government issue, it is a shared responsibility.
And despite our different experiences, we are equally capable of contributing to solutions. Thank you to all our panelists and everyone watching.
Stay safe, stay informed, and stay prepared. Until next time.